And there we are. Excuse me. Right, that's all seems to be happening. All lovely and everything. That's all nice. Right, so here we go.
We got a little Darth Vader going on there. I'm sorry.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sonic... Oh, it's not Sonic Talk number 248. It's actually 250, believe it or not. I noticed that it has a sort of... You know, we've reached some sort of milestone, and it just happens to have fallen on the post-Christmas, post-New Year, first one of the year. So firstly, I should say, Happy New Year to everybody, and I hope everybody had a great and restful and marvellous Christmas break. I know in the UK we have quite a long Christmas break, as it turns out. So I had more than a week off, which was very, very pleasant, and now I feel restful. The only problem is I'm finding it very hard to get into gear and get anything together. So this show is a little more freeform than perhaps normal, with a bit of just sort of general chit-chat about what's been and what may come, if that's not too vague for you. So I want to say welcome, everybody, and welcome everybody in the chat room. Thank you very much for joining us. It's good to see so many people of you that in there. It must be that... you guys are back to work, presumably, so you're hopefully using all your internet broadband at the office without getting caught. Anyway, I want to say hello to everybody here also on Skype. We'll start over there with Rich Hilton. Rich Hilton is there looking very crystal clear. We're having a very good Skype day today, aren't we, Rich? I think it must be said that this seems to be the highest quality video and audio we've had for ages. How are you, Rich? Did you have a good Christmas?
Very good. Yes, very good. And Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes, very much so. Did you have a good... how was the weather? Did it hold out, or did you have seasonably crisp and snow? We didn't hear. It was all warm and grey and damp. But
yeah, it's been warm, and not so grey and damp, but it's been warm. Today, it's actually quite cold.
Well, that's all right. Anyway, so have you started back at work now? I mean, because traditionally, in America, you don't kind of get as much holiday as we do you? Generally, it's not the done thing. As people tend to work, maybe get a couple of days off and that's it. Or did you get more?
Yeah, we're pretty much back at it. Schools have opened back up, and everybody's back in rhythm.
Excellent. Well, Rich, of course, is engineer, producer, player, works in the personal private studio of Mr. Nile Rodgers, who I noticed on the internet, somebody said the other day they've bought the Nile Rodgers book, which is... has that been out long?
Yeah, since October, I believe.
I must get that. Rob GS says, I'm not at work, but it's better than watching Murder, She Wrote, which is clearly a daytime TV kind of activity. Anyway, Rich, thanks for joining us. And that chuckle, I don't know what that was. That's not supposed to happen there. That chuckle there was from PJ Tracy, pjtracysound.com. Hi, PJ. I trust you had a restful and peaceful and enjoyable Christmas yourself?
I did, yes. Great, peaceful, restful, all of those things I would use as adjectives to describe Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody. Happy New Year. And, glad to be back. My wife had a few days off over Christmas, so we were able to spend some time together and with the family, and even had the chance to go out and catch some music, which is always welcome. Yep, saw some fantastic music over Christmas, and now back at it.
Great. Well,
So
I'm glad to hear that. And also, it's nice to... are you back in the thick of it? Got plenty of work on to get you going into the new year?
I do.
Oh, well,
yeah,
that's good.
And also in the middle of still transitioning and building up a new recording studio. So that's always fun and exciting.
Exciting times.
Yeah.
And we also, over there, we have Mr. Gaz Williams from songsurgeon.co.uk. You may also recognise him from our new show, the Sonic Touch, which is a programme dedicated to iOS devices and accessories and software for the time being. we managed to get one in just before Christmas, which I'm very pleased that we did, and it was kind of fast and dirty. Everybody, some of the comments just saying, "Look, slow down, calm down. You don't need to talk so fast." But it's the thrill of the live kind of event, because we do it live in the same way that we do this. We don't stream it, but it's switched live and kind of written on the fly and put together. So it's quite a hyper thing. How was your Christmas? Last time we saw you, I'm pretty convinced you did actually fall asleep at one point, because you were post-prandial, weren't you, after a big Christmas dinner?
I think I might have just nodded off. But of course, when you nod off and get caught, you instantly go into denial, don't you? You know.
Yeah. No,
I wasn't.
No, I wasn't. I was just thinking.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible, isn't it?
So how many Christmases did you end up having? Because you had one on the Wednesday before, and then then you went to your folks for another one, presumably, right?
Yeah, and then we had another one the next day as well, which was another like big family thing, which was good fun. It was good because I was using MadPad, which is this kind of crazy little kind of app where you can kind of record your faces or whatever you want, making silly noises. And I had all my family, including my 96-year-old granny, sort of making all these weird noises that I can now manipulate and play with her face and sort of do, which is a lot of fun. On the app, not in reality. Sorry.
No, of course that would be inappropriate.
Yes, but yeah, I'm raring to go with this show today, though. I think it's a really exciting show, actually. I think.
Well, great. So you must know something I don't, because I haven't quite figured out what's exciting about it yet. But I'm sure just all of your guys' company and our witty banter, because it was a very good fun show, I must admit. The one before Christmas was great fun, and we haven't missed one over Christmas. We put the Mike Leghorn interview up. And that was kind of cool. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, but he was Mr. Urs Heckman. He just uses everything by you. You know, everything is Urs and Howard Scar, which was kind of fun. Anyway, Gaz, thanks for joining us. And we also have Mr. Dave. Have I come to you yet already? I can't remember now. This is how untogether I am. Dave Spears, g4software.com. There, once again, in the under the colourful banner of the Wurlitzer Education piano device.
Oh yes, I had some kids around here, some A-level students. I should quantify that around here before Christmas, and I just kind of left them in here for an hour and a half, just let them play.
What happened?
They were actually really brilliant. They didn't knock anything over. They didn't spill their tea. They were just really quite cool, and they loved it. Yeah.
Did they write any or come up with any new applications for you in the meantime? Did
you
give them a brief?
They made a hell of a load of racket. No, they're just kind of A-level music students at my daughter's school, and I'd kind of promised the teacher that the top two could come down and just kind of play on stuff, and they were just like they were just like kids in a sweet shop.
Fantastic.
It was very good fun.
So a lot of hands-on analog.
Yeah, and obviously it's kids. They kind of they just don't get that full-on experience. So it was really quite interesting to watch.
Well, that's interesting. So what was the sort of overwhelming feeling about that stuff then? Because presumably they're software mouse pretty much exclusively.
Yeah. I mean, obviously everything's software at school pretty much. I think they've got a couple of little Roland somethings. Can't remember what they were.
Probably Gaia's, I'd imagine.
I think it was just before that. I forget. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing watching them with the Moog and the Oberheim and stuff like that. And because, I was explaining, you kind of almost, with a good analog instrument, you feel like you make a sort of physical connection with the electrons, as it were. And they were like, yeah, brilliant. And for Christmas, I got Niall's book from the missus. And also from the missus, I got...
Hey! That's one of those bags, isn't it? I
believe you had a hand.
I had a little hand in that. Yeah, she did contact me previously. Did she also make you some of that delicious pesto that I got the recipe for?
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm glad. That was good. I'm glad. Yeah. Well, I did text you in sometime after between Christmas and New Year. We were both in our own personal respective shopping hells, standing around while I think Jane was taking back a load of stuff that she bought before Christmas, thinking she might wear it. And I was just standing around saying, yes, dear, that's nice. And I think you were doing much the same.
I was witness to a full-on punch-up in game.
Really?
Hooray!
Like mega, like stuff falling off of the shelves and these guys sort of trading blows. I tried to get in there, but security held me back.
Jesus.
But it was amazing. It was amazing because all of a sudden there was, like mega queues, and then it just kind of exploded. I don't know what happened, but it was just amazing, really amazing.
Wow.
And Gaz will be pleased to know that in exchange for the book and the bag, I bought my missus an iPad. And
you
not
sure it
only
was?
that,
Have you been using
I
it?
also got her the Animoog and the IMS-20 as well, which she's thrilled with,
Very.
even though I don't
she
think
is.
she's actually used it herself.
Isn't that a bit like buying your wife a Black & Decker workmate?
I did that as well.
So you
My wife asks for those.
really?
Yeah.
Wow,
So does
cool.
Louise.
So does mine.
She wanted a shop vac one year.
I bought
router.
my wife a wood router for her birthday.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Right. I don't think I got that. I think I bought my partner a lovely hamper with lots of chili-based products in it this year. But anyway, well, I suppose that's. I mean, as I said, there's very little form to this particular show. So, I mean, we could possibly start. Well, we know what you got for Christmas, Dave. You obviously got the 909 bag, and we know that your good lady wife got an iPad, which you no doubt will have access to at key points. And Gaz, we saw your fabulous. What was it? Pick.
Yeah, like a pick cutter for cutting
Pick
out
cutter, that
plectrums
was
out of
brilliant.
ear.
Any other exciting Christmas stuff that wasn't wool product based? A pair of headphones?
These are Etiomotic HF5s, and they're pretty cool. They're. It's funny, isn't it? Though, I mean, for anyone who uses these, like right down the eardrum kind of things, you have to kind of experiment with different. This is the I think this is the triple flange plug on there. Ultimate ears. And you have to try the different ones that they've got until you find ones that are comfortable. But it is a bit weird trying to get used to them when they go right down your ear. But I've been finding as well that the frequency response varies dramatically, just how deep they are in there. Yeah, and it is a bit strange. I'm still trying to adapt to them. These are very.
You need to find the right level of penetration to suit you.
Oh, deep, baby, deep.
There seems to be a show title, perhaps, in the offing there. I'll put that one on the back burner.
That might disappoint people on YouTube, though.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, that can't be helped. People are always disappointed on YouTube.
Yes. I also got some. Bluetooth speakers.
Yes, you've been talking about those. Any good?
Yeah, but no, not really. They don't work very. No. So because they don't like stream it. I don't know why it is, because they're Bluetooth. But if you go online Wi-Fi, they don't seem to. It just seems to pause anything. So if you want to watch something online, then they don't work. So
that's a drag. But I mean, at least you got the chance to try them out in the comfort of your own home, I suppose.
I did actually. Oh, sorry. There was something I did get for Christmas, which was a little remote camera. Did I mention about this last week? I'm not sure. It's a little remote camera that I've got in my studio. Well, I did have. And what it does is if it detects any movement or any sound, it'll kind
Start
of
broadcasting
send
pictures.
No, well, it'll record whatever you see straight to YouTube, to your private account on YouTube, and will send you a alert on your
phone.
iPhone, on your phone, yeah. So the idea is, if someone breaks in, then you'll get an alert, and you can actually watch. You can watch yourself being burgled in real time.
No, don't take that.
yeah.
The next one is where actually
take the Behringer.
The next position is where it fires some kind of mind control thing into them, so you can then actually steer them around your studio just to steal, nothing. The things that can be easily replaced. Yeah.
Yes. But then, the idea is then that you can, apart from it's been, so if they actually nick the camera itself or nick all your hard drives or everything, it's already gone up to YouTube. Anyway, I was just hoping that they wouldn't come in and nick the router first, because that would sort of...
well, they will now, obviously.
Yeah, but the problem was, though, if you did... Well, I thought I'd do a trigger of it, and I walked up into my studio's in my attic, and I walked up into my attic, and I wasn't wearing any clothes, and because I was sort of
it defaulted to private, defaulted to public, did it?
Well, no. Thankfully, it did go to the private YouTube account, but yeah. But then I thought, oh no, I've just uploaded nudie shots of me to YouTube. So yes,
they've got algorithms that detect dangly bits, I think.
Oh yes, but yeah. So, but the problem was with it. Half a day later, I got an alert that someone had gone into my studio.
Naked. There's a naked man in your studio.
So I realised ultimately that it wasn't much cop really. That it was the idea was quite nice, but it just didn't really work very well.
Well, it sounds like a great idea if you're not in a hurry.
Idea.
If it's not critical. If they were stealing something like I don't know, a couple of tons of sand by the spoonful, you probably get them.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a great haul. It's a lot better than mine. I must admit, I didn't get any kind of music tech stuff really at all. I did get a bottle of Beringer bubbly rosé sparkly stuff, which is spelt Beringer, which is actually very sweet, and was. It was sort of I think the joke was that it was Beringer, really. That was kind of the thing. But it wasn't as delicious as I'd hoped, but the thought was kind of, it was very funny. It raised a chuckle. Rich, what did you get? You were talking about getting parts for your grill. I want to hear some music tech related Christmas presents, please. Even if you have to make them up.
So it's so kind of you to remember, though, that I'd wanted parts for my grill, which I got, but I've since discovered I need more parts for my grill.
Are you transferred your kind of your initial involvement in music technology, where you just I need to get one of these, I need to get one of these, is now transferred to your grill? Is that how you?
Well, when it's falling apart, yeah, because I use it a lot all year round. I had it going last night, as a matter of fact. But nothing. Well, music technology related. We're going to upgrade the studio to the new Pro Tools card and get a new interface, and that will take place very soon. Oh. And so that's not really a Christmas present for me.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
But it is.
You get to use it. You get to play with it without having to buy it.
Exactly. So that's going on. And that's the most musically technological thing I can probably come to at the moment.
Well, that's okay.
Rich, have you been using Pro Tools 10? Have you upgraded the software?
Well, I'm just about to do that. And simultaneous to that is the transition to Lion. And
how's that going, Rich?
Well, it's funny you should ask. I'm having trouble at the moment, but we'll see how it works out. I'm still optimistic.
Some guys I've been talking with are saying that RAM caching is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, we did talk about that, didn't we? The whole speed of access and what have you.
Yeah,
I will like clip gain too, because you can hit your processors more consistently, and I like that idea.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just right now I'm ironing out a time machine issue, and hopefully that'll all go away in about, let's see, go away in about, I don't know, an hour. I'm hoping.
It seems a lot of people are staying away from Lion, though. I mean, it still seems to be kind of. I mean, you seem to be quite cutting, if not bleeding edge, going over to that. I mean, what made you want to do it exactly?
Well, I've been running Lion for quite a while on my laptop.
Right.
And what makes me want to do it is the fact that that's sort of the way forward. And as much as there might be things I'll miss about Snow Leopard, particularly the way Spaces was organized, I still think that it's important, especially when you're running current DAW software, to run a current operating system. I mean, unless it's, even if it's horrible, they'll fix it or they'll make a new one or something, But yeah, it ain't bugging me that much. I got used to it, and I felt like that transition should occur at the same time as the software, which is compatible with it. So give it a fresh start. This is just a little bit of a fresher start than I was hoping to give it, and I'm really hoping that Time Machine does not fail me here. I've never seen it fail on the level I'm afraid it might be failing now. Before.
Yikes!
We'll see.
Gaz,
We'll see.
Gaz appears to be making throwing some shapes there. What exactly was that? Is that supposed to be a discrete hand signal? You got a multi-touch.
Well, no. The reason why I was doing that though is just one of the key things that once you get used to using in Lion, it's very, very difficult to go back to, and that's using 3 fingers on the trackpad, and that 3 fingers on the trackpad is equivalent to clicking and dragging okay. And you just literally just 3, so whatever. So when you're using that in your DAW, say you're kind of moving things around or whatever it is, or just adjusting parameters and stuff where you normally, I don't know if, I've always had a little bit of trouble with the trackpad when you're pressing on something and having to sort of move it for adjusting stuff. But like 3 fingers on a trackpad and you just kind of slide with it it's just wonderful. And when you get used to that, everything, it just feels like a bit of a backward step, not having that.
Right.
And that seems like quite a small thing and a small reason to go to Lion, but in a way, especially from workflow and just interacting with your DAW, that's a winner.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll check that out. Thanks for the tip there, PJ. I'm guessing. Didn't you get some sort of a humidor for your piano one year? I remember very vividly.
I did. Yeah.
How did you?
That's interesting that you remember that.
So, what do you get? What do you get this year? Do you get sort of like filters for it, or kind of how does that work? What did you get for Christmas, PJ? Anything in the musical vein that you'd care to share with us?
Yeah, a few things actually. So one thing that my wife and I were given by my parents were tickets to see a fantastic show. We went and saw a band called The Bad Plus. Who are great favorites of mine. And they play in the Twin Cities every year at Christmas time. And this year they played on Christmas. And so we went to see that show. And they did a fantastic left of field jazz rendition of Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit for their third encore. So that was a great show. Yeah. Along with that, my wife gave me a C. Crane speaker pillow. Or pillow speaker rather, which fits inside my pillow so that I can listen to my iPad as I'm whiling away the hours with insomnia in the middle of the night. And that's a great practical gift, but the little speaker pillow speaker rather that C. Crane makes, the C. Crane company, is really very good.
So what does that do? Does that fit inside the pillow yourself, or it's like a...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a tiny little thing, probably about 2 inches wide, 3 inches wide, padded, and with just a lead coming off of it that you can plug right into an iPod or an iPad or a radio, headphone out, and listen to whatever you so desire. And so it's great.
Well, that sounds really cool, because I always end up, I just get my phone and I put it on my, where's my phone? I have my phone and I've been listening to. I've just been listening to this series of books recently, which are by George R. Martin, the Game of Thrones, and I cannot stop. Yeah. I cannot stop listening to them. I've been up for hours and hours and hours, and I just sit there in bed with it on my chest like this, sort of listening to them.
Then you need a pillow speaker.
That sounds something I might aim for.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's great. And the one thing I love about it is I truly do sometimes suffer from a medical related form of insomnia. And when you do start to drift off to sleep, it's as simple as lifting your ear off the speaker pillow by an inch and you don't hear it anymore. Wow. And so you can just go to sleep, which That's interesting. I love that. Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful.
Does it stop playing when you do that as well? Because that would be good. So.
No, unfortunately it doesn't. It'll keep going. So whatever device you have hooked up to it will just wind itself down.
Okay.
However that is, whatever playlist you have on your device will just wind itself down.
Well, that sounds
right.
That's okay.
Well, we got a few other music-related gifts. My wife and I received, as a sort of belated housewarming gift from our family, a Bose iPod dock.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, which is really nice.
They're expensive, and they really kick it out, actually. I've heard them.
They sound it sounds very nice. It's very nice and portable, and we're able to hook the iPods up to it, listen to the music that we have on them, and of course stream through various applications from the internet. And it's great. Love having that in the house. And then lastly, I bought myself a Germanium a Chandler Germanium.
Wow. Wow, cool. Are you
And
pleased with that?
I'm waiting to receive it.
Right.
I'm still waiting for it to arrive.
What is germanium? Is it actually a real thing, or is it a man-made substance? Does anyone know?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, it is a real substance, but whether it's an actual element or a man-made substance, I'm not certain about that.
BBB in the chat room says it's an element. He did say it. Yeah, it says it's an element. So it looks like element seems to be they're just kicking in the giant, massive chat room turbo brain there. So it sounds like that's an element. I guess it must be on the periodic table. We went and had a quiz, actually. I did an intros round. That was about the only thing that was musical to do with my Christmas, apart from seeing a really appalling pantomime, which was not the one that my parents-in-law paid for us to go and see, by the way. Yes, I did an intros round, and I just came up with an idea for the quiz round. We did this on New Year's Eve at a friend's house, and it was bands with the bass player is the singer. And bizarrely enough... that was just the premise I set, and I just found, a whole bunch of things. I think I did, obviously, I did Mark King, I did Sid Vicious, Sting, Jack Bruce.
Geddy Lee?
No, I didn't get Geddy Lee. I got Susie Quattro, which I thought was
very good.
Lemmy.
Phil.
And Phil Lynott. I think that was it. I think that might have been it. And yes, I think that was it. That was pretty much it. It was quite a teaser. I enjoyed that. It was good fun putting it together. Oh yeah, and the Beatles, of course. I did the Beatles as well. So yeah, I think that makes 10, if I remember correctly. But it was a good fun. We should probably do a quiz here actually at some point, and it would have to all be intros or musical snippets or whatever. But
wait, why am I blanking on the name of the band? He's also in the band Oysterhead with Stuart Copeland and Trey Anastasio.
Oh, yeah.
That.
Les Claypool.
Yeah, Les Claypool.
Yeah, you had to bear in mind that the people that I was doing it with weren't all music professionals, so I had to try and make it relatively... I wouldn't have got any of that stuff, because I did actually want to try and make it female bass players, but when I started looking up lists of that, it would just be like nobody is going to get anything. They'd get Susie Quattro, and that would be kind of it, really. Because I couldn't find. I suppose obviously Carol Kay as well, but obviously that might not be something because they weren't the singer.
I know a few.
Oh, come on then, come on. Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. Oh yes, of course, I should have got that one. Good call. I missed it. Rich, you know more? Come on, let's have them.
What, female bass players?
Yes.
There's one called Sarah Lee that was, I believe, in Gang of Four at one time, but played with the B-52s.
Right.
There's one called Tracy Wormworth who plays with the B-52s now, and is one. Who else?
Michelle D'Angelillo.
Right. I Dig a Cello. Yeah. Whatever her name is.
Yes. I remember. That's true.
Tina Weymouth.
Tina Weymouth, yes, I did have her on my list as well. That was definitely one there, but I didn't get. Just wanted to say that in the chat room, Red Walks has said Germanium is number 32, and it's a half metal. So there we go, fact finders. Thank you very much. There we go. He's even put a link into the chat room. Wikipedia Germanium. There we go. And so nicely done. That's what the chat room is for, and for keeping us on our toes. Thank you. I suppose it would be probably a good time to do a quick welcome for our sponsor, so I'm just going to do that now. So I want to say thank you very much to our show sponsor, who, of course, are Yamaha UK. They, if you're watching the video stream, you'll be seeing beautifully crafted shots of their pocket track recorders, the C24 and the W24. The C24 is possibly the smallest 24-bit 96K stereo recorder that money can buy, and the W24 has a lot of extra features, but it's also got a wireless remote control which allows you to obviously mount it somewhere at the back of the gig and be able to just stop and start it rather than have someone climb up a chair. Those kind of things, they make all the difference. It's also got half-speed it's got onboard monitoring, half-speed playback for things like transcribing. So, I mean, even if you're just using it for something that, to mumble your creative moments into, the fact that it's such high quality means that you could actually translate some of that stuff directly into your DAW. In fact, it does come with Cubase AI 5 as well. It's got XY configured stereo microphones, very quick startup. This is very important. Only 4.5 seconds, so you're less likely to miss that moment of inspiration, or that found sound that you've just sort of noticed. I'm often finding that I'm in a place where I just hear a sound and think, that's amazing. I wish I had something decent enough to record it. My phone doesn't quite cut it, but one of these will. It's a very tiny device. Anyway, what Yamaha encourage you to do is head to a Pulse store if you're in the UK, which is kind of a store within a store. If you go to yamahasynth.com, yamahadownload.com, you'll be able to find those about the place and find the locations. And again, if you're in the US, just head to one of the major dealers and ask to try one out. Maybe take a memory stick down and transfer some of the sounds you record onto it, and just take a listen when you're back in the comfort of your own home. And if you do buy one, somehow tell them that we sent you, and they'll continue to bask in the reflective glory that is the Sonic Talk podcast. So once again, we thank Yamaha for their continued sponsorship of the show. It's very much appreciated. I think that was probably the smoothest Yamaha ad I've done for weeks. It must be. When I get to the end of a year, I must just kind of, it must just be. I run out of juice. Anyway, so. There really isn't, as I said, there's no real form to what's going on this show. But I thought it might be an interesting point to sort of do a little bit of a retrospective and kind of consider some of the best, most interesting releases and news items from last year. If anybody's got anything that was kind of, and I'm thinking, there are various criteria like the most. The best door, the best plug-in, those kind of things. And I just wonder if anyone's got anything they want to go with on that. I noticed that Rich Hilton seems to be nodding sagely there, so I'm going to flip to him and hope that it wasn't a twitch and that he has, in fact, got something to add to this topic. I'm sure he will do. Anyway, Rich, be great to hear your thoughts on.
I haven't spent enough time outside of the Pro Tools world on any given single project to really be terribly critical or profess anything new that I don't say all the time about these things. I mean, they all seem to be quite functional at this point and offer a very sort of stunning array of features. And it comes down to how it suits your workflow and your music creation process and how you get on with it, really. Because once you get on with a piece of software and it just falls under your hands, then it's your ability to be creative within that little sandbox you've built that kind of makes it or breaks it. And, I use Ableton and enjoy it quite a bit, and I've certainly used Logic a number of times and enjoyed it. And I haven't been around Digital Performer in many years, so I don't know where they're at these days. And I'm sure it's quite good and workable and usable. And now that you can manipulate pitch and timing on just about anything, it's really down to us, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's a good thing, right? I mean, that's where it should be. I mean, because we don't want.
I hope so.
We don't want. Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point of us exactly? I think it's probably worth mentioning the Pro Tools 10 gets a bit of a shout in because we've yet to see. I've yet to kind of have a hands-on with that, but I think that's going to add a lot. And also, the one thing I did think of was, obviously, it was the year of Reason and Record, really, wasn't it? So there's sort of newcomers, I suppose, the whole sort of relaunch of that platform. And also, Studio One should get a bit of a name just because of that direct integration with the Melodyne business, because that could really herald quite a big sea change. I think we talked about that at the time. How about?
Well, and they do kind of present the profile of the little guy, the pre-Sonus folks, or is it ProSonus? The Studio One crowd and their digital consoles and that whole world that they're in. It's kind of a last of a dying breed, small American companies trying to make good amidst, big name companies competing with them in the same sort of markets that they're in. Sure. And on some level, you like to root for those guys, I think, no matter what country you're from and whether they're from yours or not. You know, you just like the guys who are like, trying hard and move from the ground up.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with you there. I think that's very true. Anybody? What about sort of virtual instruments? I know, Dave. You're probably. I mean, obviously, including Imposca 2, because that's clearly one of the releases of the century, let alone the year. But I'm just thinking in terms of that whether there was. I did notice because I had a look at the Music Radar poll, and one thing they mentioned was the Native Instruments Razor, which is an ensemble-based instrument, which I don't know if any of you guys actually had a chance to try out, but that is a lovely sounding software instrument. PJ, would you concur that that's a kind of candidate for something special that was released last year?
I really like it. Yeah, it's a great sounding synth. It's extremely when I think of Razor, I think of extremely bleeding edge in terms of its presentation, its user interface, and the sound design that comes prepackaged with it.
Yeah.
It's extremely deep and breathtaking in what it's able to do, and with a very simple user interface. And I like it a lot, and have been using it a lot recently for some personal projects. And I think it's great, as well as some of the other ensemble-based synthesizers that come with the current version of Reactor, Reactor Prism, and Reactor Spark.
I think the only thing that put me off it was the fact that I don't own Reactor, and therefore I couldn't save patches. And I think that is a fairly major and fundamental.
You can't if you don't own Reactor.
No, you can't.
Oh,
and I think that's a fairly big deal to me. But I mean, it sounded pretty amazing, I must say.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I think it's one of the most simple and effective uses of additive synthesis that I've seen.
I think we're going to see a lot more from Reactor, and I'm looking forward to that. I really would like to spend some time with that and talk to some people. I'm trying to set up an interview with someone at Native Instruments to talk about Reactor, but all they want to talk about is Machine Micro at the moment. So I'm going to wait until there's another window. And I'm going to come to you, Dave, because you are a software maker. So it's what in terms of instruments that were released last year, obviously notwithstanding your own wonderful products at g4software.com, what would you say was the thing that perhaps most impressed you most in terms of the realm of software instruments from last year?
It's funny, when you sent this idea through, I had to think, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head. And the problem is that last year was a completely insane year for us, where I just had to put my nose to the grindstone for pretty much the entire year and hardly came up for air. I mean, we had the new website, we had the M2, we had various other things coming in and out. And it was funny because as I was reading your thing, I was thinking, surely there must have been something. So I think the most current and hippest thing that I've got is Melodyne DNA. That's it. I don't think I've got anything newer than that.
Right, and was that last year, or was that just?
Well, I don't think it was. I
before,
think it might have been. Yeah. Very strange. Yeah, it was kind of a real weird, just a weird year for us because we had so much to do that it was just like, right, get on with it. And I don't think I actually wrote an entire track during the course of the whole of the year.
Well, that's not that doesn't surprise. That's nothing from my point of view. I've written a couple of intros, but
yeah.
But the thing that was interesting for me is I'm thinking now, if I ever do get the time, what I'm trying to do is I'm thinking there might be a way of actually finishing some of the stuff I start to do demos of equipment that I review, and then putting it out in time for the review to go out and putting it on the Google Music service so people can buy it, so I can make like 79 pence or something out of one or two things. I don't know if that would ever work. I don't know what's happened to Gaz. Gaz seems to have disappeared.
He's dropped off. Could you invite him again, please?
Okay. Let's get you back. Sorry, Gaz. I was trying to figure out what was going on there. Are you back again now?
Me?
There we go.
Was it just me who went?
Yes, it seemed to be. It seemed to be.
Oh dear. Right. I'm not sure why that is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh well, you're back now. That's the main thing. And you may as well join in with your contribution.
Year in review. Your year in review.
Just in one monologue, round about 10 minutes, if you don't mind. No,
easy. No. Ozone 5 is doing the business for me. It's really cool. It's kind of got a new graphical makeover, which at first I thought was a little bit dull and a bit military-like, but I've grown to love it, and sort of switching back to an earlier version is kind of, you sort of really appreciate a lot of the new kind of design of it. But what I have to say is that the new loudness mode, which I think is called is called Intelligent 3, is really something else. It's absolutely spectacular. And if you do use Ozone, or you certainly could download the demo and try this for yourself if you wanted to see, the previous Intelligent Mode 2, was really, really good and a big improvement from the Mode 1. The version 3 is, again, a big improvement again on that. And the way you can test that, which was one of the first things that I did, was run some drums through it and really pull the threshold down hugely, so it's like, so you can really hear what the limiter's doing, and then just switch between the 3 different modes, and you can hear when you get to the intelligent mode 3 just how incredible it's actually preserving the transient sort of shape of the snare, which because I do a lot of mastering, and obviously when when your clients are wanting it louder and louder and louder, it's the snare is often one of the first things, when you start getting that mwah sort of sound where you've lost the kind of front of the snare. This new intelligent mode seems to really kind of keep that sort of snare crack kind of, it's going to reduce it, but it seems to kind of keep the kind of character of it much closer to what a snare should sound like. I was very impressed with that. So, big thumbs up from me.
Excellent. Oh, that's cool. How about you, PJ? What's sort of been the thing that, because I know you've made a few acquisitions actually this towards the tail end of the year, but I'm sure during the year, anything particularly that you kind of would really rate, or have you already thought Razor?
Yeah.
Perhaps?
Yeah. Well, I do love Razor, and Razor came for me with Complete 8.
Right.
And
so there's a lot of stuff.
yeah, and so kind of trolling through that, and I went for the Complete 8 Ultimate to sort of to round out the Native Instruments products that I didn't already own, and I've just been spending as much time as has been available to me going through all of that, and it's formidable. It'll probably take the next decade to fully dive in and explore what's on offer there, but it's great stuff. And I keep coming back to Contact as being sort of my go-to workhorse for the kind of work that I do for that's usually my starting point in terms of composing after I leave the piano. And I just love that program. I think as far as I can tell, it seems to be way out in front. Maybe with the exception of and Dave might be able to chime in on this, Motu's Mach 5. But in terms of its scripting engine and the personalization that third parties are able to give it when they want to go in and create their own user interface or scripting engine for a plugin sound library, I think Contact is just miles ahead of anybody else, and it's great. I love that program. On a different front, I really like Slate Digital's both their mastering processor. So kind of in terms of what Gaz is talking about, making if you're forced to make things louder for certain clients, that's right now my tool of choice. It seems to do the least amount of damage, but not for every type of material. So Ozone might be a more all-around solution in terms of that kind of thing. If you're doing more acoustic-based music, I find that the Slate thing tends to crap out kind of quickly because it seems to be using some sort of proprietary clipping algorithm to provide gain at the back end. And so when you're using delicate instruments in your mix or something like that, it doesn't seem to work as well as for kind of slammed out pop or rock music. Seems to be the best type of material to process through that. But it has a really nice compressor that I find adds a nice something that is almost inaudible, but definitely does something nice to a mix if you put 1 or 2 dB of gain reduction on the mix with that compressor. It's great. Also, Slate Digital's Virtual Console collection, I think, that's really nice.
We talked about that before it was in general release, didn't we? And does it actually kind of do what it pertains to do?
I think so. I mean, not without having had the opportunity to A/B it directly between out of the box mix using any of the consoles that it purports to emulate. What it does do, at least for me and from others that I've talked to that are currently using it, I've been using it since this summer and sending mixes out to clients, with the use of it, is it tends to add some sort of ineffable something. And at first I would, and it's really difficult to say what it is. It doesn't make anything sound better, in my opinion. What it does is it makes it easier to mix. It somehow takes all of these elements, especially for mixes that originate almost entirely inside the box. So if I'm using virtual instruments or synthesizers on something almost entirely, if you put this thing across all channels of that and then on the mix bus, it adds a kind of depth and placement to each individual part that gives you more fader throw, more space in the mix in order to get balances and panning correct before you have to start adding extraneous processing to it. And I use less of that now. And it just seems to do something very nice to the mix. Whether or not it sums like out of the box, I'm not certain, but soon I'm definitely going to put it up against some out of the box mixes, because in the new studio we're going to have that option to be able to sum outside of the box with 16 channels of a lot of different flavors of transformers. So it'll be definitely interesting to see what that software does compared to a nice out of the box.
Would you put that across channels or buses then? I mean, how would you or either
Slate Slate software?
Yeah.
Or which?
The virtual console.
So the way that it comes is in two flavors. You have a channel plugin that allows you to select between 5 different console emulations. One is reportedly an SSL, another an old API. One is a vintage Nave console of some stripe, and the other is a Toft board, and then an old RCA tube console, apparently from the 1950s. And then there is a mix bus processor that you're supposed to put across your mix bus or across, I suppose, subgroups, which I've done. And apparently it doesn't do any actual summing, so these processors aren't talking to each other, except the mix bus processor apparently does account for crosstalk between the left and the right channel.
Right.
And according to what I've read of Fabrice Gabriel, I think, or Gabriel Fabrice, I can't remember the name of the guy that actually designed it, who apparently was the man behind Eosis, that algorithm company.
Right.
He claims that he thinks that the sound of these boards is all in the stereo crosstalk of the mix bus, and that it's not important, that the summing crosstalk is not important. I obviously don't know the answer to that, and I just know that I like what this processor does, and I think it was well worth the money spent.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, no, I'll have to check those out, because a couple of people have mentioned that. I'm just trying to think what I would go. I mean, mine's kind of probably just from the stuff that I review. They're kind of mid-price synthesizer, or low to mid-price synthesizer. I think M Audio Venom's got to be given a good shout. I think I read somewhere that there's a firmware update for it coming soon, which might or has in fact been released, that might increase some other functionality. But in terms of sound, I still think, I mean, it's a horrible looking thing that's built quite cheaply, but it sounds really good, which I think was about the top line of it. So that was worth doing. That was something that I thought was noteworthy. And also the Mach 6, the Yamaha Mach 6, because that is a whole bunch of synthesizer for the money. I mean, I haven't really looked at the Yamaha workstation stuff since maybe SY77, because Will has got one, or used to have one of those. So coming to that sort of almost fresh and seeing what it had to offer, just really kind of just like, wow, there's a lot there. I mean, a synthesizer which has 8 oscillators per voice, each on a program level, it can work like a multi. It's really quite, and the effects and just the sound of it. I was really impressed with that. I thought that was good. I mean, it's a bit more expensive, but it really, really sounded good. I mean, the only thing that I think was a downside on it was perhaps the polyphony count was a little bit low, but well worth checking out if you're in the market for that sort of workstation that can just do lots of great sounds. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else really. Speakers. Has anybody bought any speakers? I know that the Radar said that Adam AX7s were well noteworthy for last year's monitors. I know, Dave, you use Adams, don't you, in your place?
Yeah.
What do you use again?
I don't know. Hang on, I'll look around the back.
I've forgotten.
I need my glasses. They're big. They're quite big.
Ah, right. Okay.
P22s.
Right, that sounds big. Anything with a P in front of it.
Yeah. No, they're lovely, and I really like them. And yes.
Well, Howard Scar says he's got Adam P22s as well. There you go.
There you go.
They're great, he says. Snap.
They're great.
They're great. Yeah, sounds like
Nick.
Frosties. Yes, PJ.
We just purchased a pair of monitors for audition. We get a 3-week audition period with them from SE Electronics. We bought a pair of the Monroe eggs.
Ah, okay. Because the SE are really. In fact, I got some lovely ribbons sent down from SE. We got the new. Now I've got to get this right. What the new RX1 ribbons? I don't know where they are, actually.
Yes.
I'm guessing Andy must have taken them home to play with because I can't see them about the place. But they were really... They look beautiful. Because the one thing I noticed when I was doing guitar reviews was that we use the SE Electronics R1 ribbons, which are quite big, and they're passive ribbons. But I just plugged those directly into the Zoom, and I'd have like a pair up, and we recorded a few things. And it just... A bit of bottom end roll off, and it just sounded really sweet straight out of the go, and which was very impressive, just going straight into the H4n. And so we've got a pair of these, I believe, RX1s. I forget the exact name that they sent down for us to use for doing some more guitar stuff and evaluate. And they look really, really lovely. They're very, very small, and they come in these bamboo cases with a really silky little bag. I know it's irrelevant, the packaging, but they really are lovely. And I think that's the one thing that has seemed to have been happening certainly in the last 12 months, probably more, is the kind of the way that ribbon microphones have become more and more and more prevalent. More people are making them, and they're making them more compatible with more equipment, because up to now, well, perhaps not up to now, but until relatively recently, you needed kind of specialized preamps to get the gain out of them and the impedance to drive them, what have you. And now they're sounding good. I don't know, Rich, you do a lot of recording. Are you kind of finding ribbons are starting to become more something that you use or would like to use?
I bought one this year, as a matter of fact. So yes, absolutely.
What did you get?
Excuse me. I got a Royer 122.
Yeah, they're supposed to be. Is that the ones that are great for guitars? They are the bee's knees for guitars and brass, right?
I could say so, based on my experience. I'm very pleased with it. It is also a very odd duck of a ribbon mic in as much as it accepts phantom powering.
Right, okay.
So why does the 122 accept phantom power, Rich? Is that merely a safety
because it's got some kind of amplification
put into it?
Some kind of amplification that requires 48 volts in the capsule, in the actual microphone itself. They have a 120. They have a 121 version that I believe does not, and this one has a much higher output. Apparently, it does provide gobs of output, and it sounds magnificent. And I'm really, really pleased as a purchase, with the Royer. So
yeah, I think ribbons. If you do any recording whatsoever, you should try one out, because they do just sound great. I know, Gaz, you're a fan of decent microphones. Have you got any ribbons?
I've got one of those SE R1s, like you were talking about earlier, but I've used quite a lot of different ribbons. Used the Coles 4038 lots on that's the BBC.
You need a pretty top dollar preamp to get the most out of those, though, don't you?
Well, you notice that with ribbons that you do kind of hear preamp. It's a good way of checking out preamps, actually, because they do sound very different in different preamps.
Can I make a suggestion in that regard, Nick? There's a company called Cloud Microphones that makes a clean preamplifier for ribbons called the Cloud Lifter. It's cheap. Maybe for a stereo version of this thing, I think maybe $300 US, $240 US.
Oh, okay.
You can insert this in between that microphone and any other preamp that you desire, in order to bring it up to a presentable gain for that preamplifier if you want that preamp's color on the ribbon microphone. So it's a good way. It's a good way of doing it.
That could be interesting. I mean, I'd found that the SEs going into the Zoom had plenty of gain. I mean, I didn't really need to. I mean, we were obviously micing cabs, so there was quite a lot of gain floating about anyway. But I can't wait to try them, actually. And they're so tiny. They look like they should be really big, but they're really tiny little things. They're not big at all. They're not much bigger than that, not even that wide, but sort of about that tall. They're lovely, and they feel very quality. So I'm really looking forward to trying them. Really looking forward to it.
We can almost single-handedly thank David Royer for the resurgence of ribbon microphones. I think he kind of sort of revived that whole trend in the late 1990s when he started releasing these Royer ribbon microphones. And his other company, Mojave Audio, I own several of his microphones from that company. They release small and large dynamic I'm sorry, condenser tube and FET microphones, and they are fantastic microphones for the money. Excellent.
Right, yeah.
microphones
The
for the money.
Roy, I mean, the Royer that you spoke of, I think, Rich, they're not, they're sort of quite high end price, aren't they? They're not cheap microphones.
No, it's not a cheap microphone.
No, but it's supposed to be absolutely the sound. And ribbons have actually, one of the reasons that ribbons seem to be moving more into affordable is because engineers are using them live a lot on guitars. I mean, that seems to be because I think there's been a move, certainly within rock, that ribbons are used on cabs a lot more, perhaps in the last 5-6 years, and I think that's so they're being demanded of on the road at the same time. Which previously, I mean, you wouldn't take like a 40-48 Coles on the road or anything. I mean, just a gust of wind in an outdoor festival, and it would be kind of trashed possibly. So
Yeah.
that's they're being made much more ruggedly these days, aren't they? So that to cover that.
Well, in my room, I'm always fighting the backside of the figure eight, so I wonder how that works on stage, because it is a figure eight microphone no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
And so I tend to use the Real Trap's portable vocal booth behind it to minimize the effect on the backside of the microphone when I'm doing things like horns and in our room, because our room is basically a control room, and it's really a converted bedroom. And we try to minimize the effect of the room as much as possible because you're already going to get plenty anyway.
Oh, that's I wonder if that's why ribbons have become more sought after, because essentially if you've got a great sounding room with a cab in it that sounds great and you put a ribbon in front of the cab, you get the room as well. So you get this more sort of, that's why it would sound more real. I wonder if that's the case. Sorry, Gaz, you were just about to jump in.
Well, I was just going to say about this technique. I think I may have mentioned it before, but it's worth mentioning again. If you are into microphones like myself, a way to experiment with microphones is to take a little in-ear microphone, in-ear headphone, and feed white noise into it, and then have the microphone monitor the microphone's output via a spectrum meter and a VU meter as well. And then you play white noise out of the little earphone, and you just move it around the microphones.
Right.
You move it around the capsule, and then you kind of watch the frequency response, and you watch also the sort of how loud it is, and then it's really interesting for discovering just where the nulls begin and where kind of what the characteristic of the microphone is, and it's a fantastic little technique to do because
that's an interesting tip. What we need, there's an iPad app there, isn't there? Right, plug your headphones in, you get a spectrum analyzer and a white noise generator, and you just do it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I suppose
you heard it here first. Let's copyright that quick.
But it is quite an interesting thing to do because understanding your microphones and understanding sort of like Rich is talking about, with the all ribbons are figure eights or whatever, but they do have very deep nulls on the sides there. So knowing where the nulls are, can really help with microphone placement. Really.
Interesting. Oh, thanks for that. That's a great tip, Gaz. Thank you very much indeed. Excuse me, Dave. Are you as you said, you've spent a lot of time in the basically in your control room, just kind of get with your head down, working on instruments for GeForce. I mean, have you got any ribbons? Is that something that you would reach for? Can you use them for vocals, or they're very susceptible to pop, aren't they? Really, and breath.
No, I don't. I always kind of in fact, it's weird because listening to this conversation that's been really interesting over the last few minutes, I demanded that we invest quite heavily in the Adams, and they really have lasted the course. I think they've probably been on about 24/7 for the last 5 years, and the amps have not made a single noise. But when it comes to mics, I don't know. There's something in me that has a bit of a problem paying a reasonable sum of money for a mic, so I just tend to go for kind of crap, basically. So I think that's probably got to change. Maybe that should have been my New Year's resolution. Buy decent mics that will last forever. Dale, for example, has got a load of ribbon mics and a couple of beautiful Neumanns, old vintage stuff, and we've obviously hired in various mics for projects. And the difference you really do notice with a decent preamp, you really do notice these things. I've got a mate in Sweden who collects really old RCA ribbon mics as well. and he swears by them. So yeah, maybe that should be my New Year's resolution.
I've tried those ones that are like the Larry King Live things. We tried those.
Yeah.
It just sounded like someone had put like a soft toy over the microphone. It just really didn't have. It was. I mean, we probably didn't have the right preamp, but it sounded terrible by comparison to a number of other things. But I expect it was probably not being driven right. Gaz looks tooled up there. Something's going to happen, isn't it?
Can you hear me? I'm now talking to you. Oh, sounds a bit. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm now talking to you through my ribbon mic. I don't know if you can remember what I sounded like before.
Oh yeah, you sound very woody in a good way.
Yeah, so they do have like a kind of interesting, a different sound, a different tone, but I don't know. It's as I kind of move around, you can hear the kind of the null on the side there. So
right, it's really pronounced, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought I'd just.
What's your normal mic, Gaz?
I was using the Blue Mouse, which is a large diaphragm condenser mic. Yeah. So I'll swap back to that one now.
Oh, let's have a listen to the difference.
Okay. Right. Here we go. Just.
But you got to get right up on it like that.
Okay, now coming on the condenser, so obviously a lot brighter.
Still got the body there, though, hasn't it? It's interesting. No, very interesting.
In the proximity, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Lovely. Sounds like an old Valve radio, says AKA Tinley in the chat room. Oh, that must be Mark.
It is Mark.
Ah, okay.
Sneaky bastard.
So, interesting. Some interesting. Oh, yes. And I was asking where they were, and I've just texted Andy. He says, brought them back to test against the Coles because he just bought a Coles 4048. The original Sennheiser locking lead. Oh, yeah, sorry. I need to. Yeah, that's a bit of housekeeping. Probably don't need to replicate that to everybody. Yes. Excuse me. Well, I'm just trying to think whether there was anything. So what? I guess the next thing is, what would we like to see in the next 12 months? Over the next coming year. Is there any kind of predictions or something that you want to see happening? Gaz is looking like he really, 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 really wants to say something there. So I'm going to switch to you directly.
Okay, there's something I desperately want. Come on, manufacturers, please make this. I want a little unit with eight little things that you plug into them. They're little things with an XLR socket on them. You plug them into microphones, and they transmit to this base unit, which has got an ADAT out, and it's 8 wireless microphones to an ADAT output. So, like for making drums and stuff, you just literally take these little units, click them onto the back of microphones. They've got ADs on them, and they transmit digitally, wirelessly to the kind of main unit, which then sends ADAT out. That's what I want to see.
Latency would be the question. Would be my first. The first thing I meant.
No, if it's 2.4 gigahertz, basically like Line 6 have got their relay kind of wireless devices now, which are absolutely fantastic. If you use them, they've actually got a switch on them where you can actually do cable simulation because they sound so good that you might want to sort of dumb the sound down a little bit.
We reviewed the GR something or other, and it sounded great. Yeah.
Oh, so I want basically 8 of them. They kind of live in a thing which keeps them charged up all the time. So you pull them out. They're always charged, ready to go. You've got 8 of them. Click them on. You don't have to set them. It knows which one is which. And I don't know, maybe auto sensing, so you don't even need to set gain. That's what I want.
Sweet. That's quite. I imagine Line 6 would probably be the folks to do that as well, because we've been on at Line 6 for ages to say, look, can you make an ENG version of this so that we've got a belt pack and a camera pack, so that we don't have to have a mains powered unit, because they sound brilliant and they probably last for ages. And the fact that they've got so many channels probably means that we won't get hung up, because what so often happens to us is somebody goes, oh yeah, we've got this new video wireless mic, and you go, brilliant, how many channels have they got? And they go 3, and you go, well, if I'm at NAM, the chances are there's going to be 2 other people at least there, or maybe more, where we're going to be on the same channel, so we're screwed. We can't use them. So wireless mics, yeah. That's what I mean. We use them in the studio. We use them when we're doing the iOS show. And we've got some really nice theatre mics, which do sound great. But anyway, that's another point.
I mean, I just want more wireless. Go wireless.
Go wireless. Go
desperate.
wireless. Everything wireless.
I want everything wireless. I just hate leads. They're the bane of my life, and I just would love to go completely wireless. So that's what I want.
Okay.
Yes, please.
PJ, what about you then?
Well, and on a slightly satirical note, I guess, along with Gaz, wires are starting to become a huge problem while wiring up a big patch bay, and I'd like a patch bay monkey I can just tell it how to wire up the patch bay and it'll go do it. Because it's a pain, and it would be really nice if we could get to a wireless world, but I don't see that coming anytime real soon. Other than that, I don't know. I'm not sure. Ask me again next year.
Okay.
I might know better what would make my life easier, because I'm sort of stepping back into the world of doing a lot of, where I'd be doing a lot of live recording, that kind of thing, or recording of live sources. And it's been a while since I've done that on a day-to-day basis, and I look forward to doing it.
You'll know, right? Okay, I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. How about you, Rich? What is it that you would like to see coming up in the next year that isn't already here?
Good health and more gigs.
Yeah. Well, that's a fair enough thing.
That's what I'd like to see happen.
Okay. Well, I don't think that's an unreasonable request. In fact, it's one we should all hope for, I think, perhaps.
Yeah.
Dave Spears, how about you then? Is there something that you'd like to see in the world that isn't already here?
Yes.
Can you talk about it?
No.
Is this sort of along the lines, something I've been working on that I just want to get out the door, kind of?
Sort of,
right.
Yes. And there's a couple of other things that I know a lot of people have been asking for, not necessarily from us, that are coming at some point during this year. And on that note, I've sailed ridiculously close to my NDA, and I will retire.
Right. Okay. Well, that's exciting and interesting. I'm trying to think if I'd like to, because I mean, the thing I'd like to do. I'm sick of wires as well, because I mean here, people who come and visit the office, when they see what's going on above waist height in here, and then they look on the floor, they see what an awful, dreadful mess. I'd really like to get some Cat 5 snakes in and just have everything just done on, I'm just really sick of having all these cables lying around, because we have to have them because we've got all these different bits of gear that need to be plugged in, adapters, mini jack to XLR to, it's just tons of it. And that would be really nice to have something along those lines. Again, also with the and what I also want to, well, this has actually got nothing to do with what's not available. It's just what I want, which is one of those big lighting rigs that I could just put everything up in the sky above and just switch it on and off, and not have it lying around on the floor, balanced on various mantelpieces and tables and stuff. Yeah. A user in John Van Eaton in the chat room says a user installable 64-bit upgrade for your current Mac. I think, if I got that right. But anyway, I think that's been that's probably all we can hopefully ask for. We mustn't be too greedy. And I just want to say thank you very much to everybody for making this show work so well without any kind of topics or agenda. I think we've done incredibly well, and it shows that we can actually waffle. Or at least I can waffle for an incredibly long amount of time without boring myself. At least I can't speak for the chat room. So I'm hoping that everybody's enjoyed that also. So I want to say thank you very much to everybody who's joined us. I want to say thanks to the chat room members. As ever, we very much appreciate your being here on the live stream. And it's not easy for some of you. I know that there are some people who even live in New Zealand and are up at a ridiculous hour in the morning. So thank you very much to everybody there. Remember, sonicstate.com/live, 4 p.m. UK time. Next week, I think it's going to be our pre-NAMM special, where if there's anything we can talk about, we'll talk about it. And then that'll be it, because obviously I'm going to be on the road for a little while, so I won't be able to do anything, and I certainly won't be able to do a podcast where I am. So I want to say thank you to everybody. We'll say also thank you very much there to Dave Spears from GeForce Software. Much appreciated you coming in, and I hope that your working day or week is not piling up to be too onerous, and it's a nice, slow and gentle start to the year for you. Okay.
Thank you.
We can hope, can't we? We can hope at least. And we'll also say to Gaz Williams, thank you very much for joining us. We must try and schedule another frantic Sonic Touch show shoot before Nam comes in. So thanks very much, and I'm glad that you had a wonderful Christmas. And you got a pretty good haul of Christmas presents, I have to say. Even if some of them didn't work as advertised, I want to know why my family doesn't buy me that kind of stuff, eh? Anyway, I can't complain about it. Would you buy it all for yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll also say thank you very much to Rich Hilton, who's over there in Connecticut. I'm guessing probably how's it looking on the on your time what's it called? Time your restore.
My time machine
restore. That's
completed restoring my user account, and as soon as this show's over, I am going to boot into it and begin setting this bad boy up.
You see, it's our good vibes.
Fresh apps folder with a fresh apps folder and new installations of all the needed software.
I can see you've got a big smile on your face, and that's great.
I am relieved. I'll be even more relieved when it boots into that account, but at least it's on the computer. I can go get those things.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's great. Well, Rich Hilton, Hiltonius.com, thank you very much, and may you enjoy your housekeeping and reinstalling tasks that are now due to you. Thank you very much, Rich. Woo-hoo. And PJ Tracy, thank you very much also for joining us. Really appreciate you. You've the voice of reason, many have been saying in the chat. You've been certainly been pouring out a lot of knowledge today. It's obviously been building up over Christmas, so thank you very much, PJ. Really much appreciated.
Thanks. It's definitely my pleasure to get it out, because I certainly don't get to have these conversations with anyone else. So I really appreciate being invited to the table. Thank you.
That's it. Yeah, it's like it's been building up like a dam.
Exactly. Happy New Year to everybody in the chat room,
and thank you very much, everybody.
In the next couple of weeks, I should be moving my broadcasting space to a place with slightly larger bandwidth, so hopefully we'll be able to participate in the chat room as well as being on the podcast at the same time.
Sweet.
And I look forward to that.
Great. Look forward to it too.
Yep.
You're not Rich Hilton, you are PJ Tracy, pjtracysound.com. Thank you very much. That was Sonic Talk number 250, a milestone.
250, wow.
Yeah, and so a quarter of a century there, folks. So thank you very much for everybody being with us, and thanks to Tinley in the chat room. I think he just popped in towards the end of the show, and so yeah, Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to everybody. So see you, folks. Thanks very much. It's a wrap.